The sand bath Dale walked alone across the wide red desert of Kuroa. The wind was soft, but the heat was sharp like tiny needles against his face. His boots sank into the warm sand, with each step leaving a lonely trail behind him. This was his favorite place on the planet. There were no machines here, no noisy officers, no missions to follow, just silence and sand, miles and miles of Ive. Carried nothing but a small pouch with water and a smooth cloth to cover his eyes. Today, he needed peace. Today. He didn't want to be a human colonist or a soldier or anything at all. He just wanted a sand bath. The sand bath was an old ritual, one he had read about in an ancient Kuroan book. You lie still buried in the heated sand from neck down and let the world disappear. The pressure of the sand calms the body. The stillness calms the mind. And when you get up, you feel like your soul has been washed clean. He reached a quiet dip between two dunes. The sun hung high, golden and strong. The sand shimmered around him like soft fire. Dale took off his jacket, placed it under his head, and began to dig a shallow hole, just deep enough for his body to rest below the surface. Lay back slowly, letting the hot grains cover him up to his neck like a warm hug. It was strange but comforting. His eyes closed, his thoughts drifted. Nothing mattered now. Time passed like a dream. The wind whispered. The sun burned gently overhead. Dale felt his mind floating free. He almost forgot he had a body. Then he heard its soft steps in the sand. They were light but clear, coming from behind him. Not the wind, not an animal. It was someone walking directly toward him. Eyes opened, but he didn't move. He didn't want to panic. Maybe it was just another settler. But no one ever came here. No one knew about this place except him. The footsteps stopped right beside him. Dale turned his head slightly, just enough to look without rising. A figure stood tall against the bright sky, wearing long silver robes that shimmered with tiny threads of blue. Her skin was pale like ivory, her hair long and tied in thin braids with small stones woven through them. She wasn't human. She sat down quietly beside him, without saying a word. Her movements were calm, graceful, as if she had done this before. She crossed her legs and looked out at the horizon. Dale stared, not sure what to do. His body was buried. He couldn't get up fast without making a mess of everything. Hello, he said carefully. She didn't answer for a long moment. The two of them just sat in silence. She didn't look at him. She didn't speak. She just sat there like she belonged in that spot more than he did. Cleared his throat. This is kind of my place. You're welcome to stay, I guess. Just wasn't expecting company. Still no reply. He studied her robes more closely. There was a small mark on her shoulder, like a family crest, a symbol he had seen once in a report. She was royalty, not just any alien. She was from one of the ruling families of Kuroa, the kind that rarely showed themselves, the kind that caused problems when involved with humans. Why was she here, alone, without guards? Are you lost? He asked. This time she turned her head and looked at him. Her eyes were strange. A deep shade of violet with gold rings around the pupils. She didn't smile, but her face wasn't cold either, just quiet, thoughtful. I'm not lost, she said softly. Her voice was clear and smooth. I'm hiding. Dale blinked. Hiding from who? She didn't answer right away. Her gaze returned to the distant dunes. Sometimes silence is the only safe place, she said. You found that too, didn't you? Dale nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess I did. The wind picked up slightly, lifting the edges of her robe. Small grains of sand began to drift across the flat ground. A faint hum buzzed through the air, like something far away. Dale sat up a little, trying to hear better. The sound grew louder, a mechanical whine, thin but steady. The woman looked at him, then raised a finger to her lips. Stay silent. Dale froze. His shadow passed above. A small silver drone glided through the air, scanning the ground with a blue light. It hovered briefly, then moved on slowly, drifting across the desert. Like a hunter without eyes, Dale's heart thumped hard in his chest. The drone disappeared over the next dune. He turned to her, his voice barely a whisper. They're looking for you, aren't they? She gave a slight nod. Yes, and now they might be looking for you too. Dale let out a slow breath and sank back into the sand, letting it cover more of his chest. He had come for peace, for silence, for a moment away from duty instead. He now shared the sand with someone hunted, someone royal, someone whose quiet presence could start a war, and strangely he didn't feel afraid. He just felt curious. Royal intrusion. Dale stayed quiet, buried in the warm sand as the wind blew harder across the dunes. The woman beside him didn't move. Her face was calm, but her eyes were alert, always watching the sky. He looked at her again, really looked this time. She didn't carry any weapon. Her hands were bare. Her clothes looked soft, but expensive. Each stitch had care and history. Her silver robe wasn't made for running or hiding. You don't seem like someone who hides, Dale whispered. She didn't look at him, just said, "There are many kinds of danger. Not all of them come with sound." Dale frowned. "That drone, was it yours or someone else's?" She finally turned to him and answered, "It belongs to the House of Tellin. They searched for me with orders from my father. I am not supposed to be here." Dale blinked slowly, letting her words settle. "So you're not just some noble, you're his daughter, the High King's daughter." She nodded once but said nothing more. Dale cursed softly under his breath. He had heard stories about the royal family of Kuroa. They were old, powerful, and full of secrets. When they showed up, people disappeared. When they gave orders, cities changed. And now one of them was sitting next to him in the middle of the desert. "You picked a strange spot to hide," Dale said. "This isn't exactly a quiet corner of the galaxy." She gave a small smile. "That is why I chose it. I read about the sand bath tradition from your colony's books. Few would think to look for a princess buried in the desert with a human." He raised an eyebrow. "You read our books?" "I study everything," she said simply. "Knowledge is the only thing that lasts." Dale looked around. The empty desert sky was turning a softer gold. Shadows growing longer, the air cooling. He had wanted silence, but now his mind was racing. "Are you in danger?" he asked finally. "Real danger?" She gave no answer for a moment, then said, "If they find me, I will be taken back. I will be locked behind walls and made to marry a man chosen by blood, not by spirit. That to me is worse than death." Dale felt a strange pull in his chest, something between anger and pity. "So you ran," he said, "alone into the desert." "I needed a place where no one could command me," she said. "A place where I could be just a soul, not a symbol." He stared at her, amazed at the mix of strength and sadness in her voice. "You ever think they'll just give up?" he asked. She shook her head. "My name is worth too much to be forgotten. They will send more. They always do." Dale sighed. "Then you can't stay here. They'll search the dunes. By nightfall, you'll be found." "I know," she said. "But where can I go? I have no ship, no map, no signal. If I move now, they'll track me." Dale rubbed his chin. "You said they wouldn't expect you to be with a human, right?" She looked at him sharply. "Correct. Then maybe," he said slowly, "we give them something they don't expect." She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Dale said, "you come with me. We walk back to the outpost at dusk, just two travelers. No one will ask questions if we stay quiet, and I know places we can hide better than this." She was quiet for a while, then said, "And why would you help me?" Dale shrugged. "Because I've seen what happens when people are forced to be someone. They're not. I came here to escape that too." He looked down at the sand. "I was supposed to be leading a team this week. Running drills, writing reports. I couldn't take it anymore. I just wanted to feel human again." The wind grew stronger, blowing dust across their faces. She looked at him with softer eyes now. "Then perhaps we are not so different." He met her gaze. "Maybe not." They both sat quietly again for a moment, sharing something unspoken in the silence, a kind of strange trust built from truth, not time. Suddenly, the sky flashed of lightning. A scanner beam. Dale's heart jumped. A drone far above had caught something in its sweep. It was circling back. "Time to move," he said quickly. He began to push himself up from the sand, shaking it off his arms and chest. The princess moved fast too, standing and brushing sand from her robe. She didn't seem afraid anymore, only focused. They crouched low behind a ridge of sand. The drone passed overhead again, slower this time. It scanned the spot they had just left, but didn't spot them. Dale tapped her arm gently. We'll move north. There's a cave I know about 10 minutes walk. We stay low, stay fast." She nodded, following his lead. They moved across the sand, with care keeping their shadows small. The desert looked peaceful, but above them, machines searched for a missing crown. Dale kept his hand close to his belt knife, even though he knew it wouldn't help much if trouble came. They reached the cave just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The cave was narrow, hidden by sharp rocks. It smelled of dust and old heat, but it was safe inside. They sat, breathing heavily. "You handled that well," Dale said. "So did you," she replied. He looked at her. "Do you have a name I can call you? Something simple." She thought for a moment. "Call me Lyra. It is a name I once used as a child. It is not royal." "Lyra," Dale repeated. "All right, then I'm just Dale. No rank, no job, just Dale." Lyra smiled slightly. "That sounds fair." Outside, the wind howled through the dunes. Drones flew above, searching still. But inside the cave, two souls sat shoulder to shoulder, bound not by orders, but by choice, shared secrets. The cave was dark and quiet, but Dale felt wide awake. He sat with his back against the cold stone wall while Lyra rested a few feet away. Her silver robe was dusty and her hair loose now, but she still looked calm and strong, like someone who had lived many lives in one. Outside, the wind screamed through the desert, sharp and restless, but inside there was peace, a strange peace. Two strangers hiding from a world they no longer trusted. Dale broke the silence. "You ever sleep in a place like this before?" Lyra looked at him. "No, this is my first time in a cave." He gave a soft laugh. "It's not so bad. Better than a cell, right?" She gave a small nod. "Much better." A few more moments passed before Dale spoke again. "Why didn't you run to one of your own families? I mean, there must be someone loyal to you, someone who'd help you escape properly." Lyra looked down at the sand on the cave floor. Her voice was soft. "They all made promises, but none that were real. Once I said no to the marriage, I was no longer a daughter. I was a problem." Dale's jaw tightened. He understood that feeling too well. "I once led a colony ship," he said quietly. "Back when Earth sent out crews to find new planets. I was in charge. We landed here on Kuroa with hope and plans, but the moment things got hard, everyone looked to me to fix everything, to carry it all." He shook his head. "But no one carries the leaders when they fall." Lyra looked at him with eyes full of something deeper than interest, something like understanding. "What did you do?" she asked. "I walked away," he said. "Left the station, told them I needed time alone. I don't think they cared. They just needed someone else to blame." Lyra moved closer. "You didn't leave because you were weak. You left because you were tired." He looked at her, surprised by the truth in her words. "Yeah, I guess I did." Silence returned, but this time it wasn't empty. It was full of shared pain, of hidden scars. Suddenly, Lyra reached into her robe and pulled out a small, glowing device. It was shaped like a stone but pulsing with soft light. "This is a beacon," she said. "I can send one signal, one message to one place." Dale leaned forward. "Then why haven't you used it?" "Because I don't know who will answer," she said. "My brother may help, or he may return me to my father. Either way, I lose my freedom." She looked him in the eyes. "But if I don't use it, we may be found anyway, and then we both lose more than freedom." Dale sat back, thinking hard. "Could you use it to send a message to someone else, somewhere safe?" She shook her head. "It is locked to my family's network. Only one option. Choose a hand to catch or fall alone." He stared at the glowing stone, then at her, then at the desert beyond. "What if we destroyed it?" he said. Lyra blinked. "You would do that, even if it means no help is coming?" "Yes," Dale said. "Because you're not a problem. You're a person, and people deserve to choose." Lyra stared at him for a long time. Then slowly she placed the device between them and lifted a rock from the cave floor. Without a word, she crushed the beacon. Light died instantly. She breathed out deeply, not fearfully but freely. "You just gave up your only lifeline." Dale said quietly. "No," she replied. "I chose a new one." He looked at her with a small smile. You're braver than most soldiers I know." They sat together in the silence again, but it was different now. Something had shifted. They weren't just hiding anymore. They were deciding, suddenly. The sky outside flashed again, but not blue this time. Red Dale stood quickly peeking out from the cave. A larger ship was descending slowly, its lights scanning the dunes. It wasn't a royal ship, and it wasn't human either. The shape was long with jagged wings. The kind used by scavengers. Lyra joined him at the edge of the cave. "They follow the beacon signal, but it is now broken. They may be confused." Dale nodded. "Confused is good. Confused means we have time." The scavenger ship hovered for a minute, then touched down near the spot they had left earlier. Two figures in armor stepped out, scanning the sand with tools. Lyra turned to Dale. "If they find nothing, they may leave, or they may search more caves." "We can't wait to find out," he said. "We run north. There's a trade post 2 days from here, small, forgotten, quiet. We can blend in." Lyra gave a firm nod. "Then we go together." Dale helped her gather her robe and cover her face with a scarf. He wrapped a cloth over his head and grabbed his water pouch. They stepped into the cool night air together. The sand was firm under their feet. The stars above were bright, like eyes watching their every step. They walked fast and low, avoiding open ground. Each step was a choice, each breath a risk, but neither of them looked back in that vast empty desert with danger behind and hope ahead. Two people from different worlds moved forward side by side, not as strangers, but as allies beneath the sand. The desert was quiet again, but Dale could feel the tension in every grain of sand. Each step he and Lyra took was careful, slow, and silent. The scavenger ship still sat far behind them, like a sleeping beast. Its red lights blinked through the dark dunes. Dale glanced at Lyra. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. She had changed since their first meeting. She was no longer just a lost princess. She looked like someone ready to fight for her life. They moved north, following the edge of a dry riverbed. Dale knew the route well. The trade post wasn't close, but if they kept walking through the night, they could reach a safer spot by morning. "You holding up?" Dale asked quietly. "Yes," Lyra said without slowing. "The night feels colder, but my mind is clear." Dale gave a small nod. "Good, stay close, the ground gets tricky here." As they crossed over a low dune, Dale's foot suddenly sank into soft sand. He froze. Lyra stopped beside him. "What is it?" she whispered. He looked down. "Trap sand, old miner's patch. If we step wrong, we could sink." He reached into his belt and pulled out a thin metal rod. He poked the ground gently, finding firmer ground just a few steps ahead. "Follow my steps." "Exactly," he said. "No sudden moves." She nodded and did just that. Together they moved past the trap without falling. Then they picked up speed again as the sky began to shift from black to deep blue. The first sign of dawn. Dale stopped and pointed to a ridge in the distance. "We make it there, we rest. There's a small overhang with shade and rocks. We'll be hidden for a while." They reached the ridge just as the sun rose behind them. The light spread slowly across the sand, turning everything gold and red under the overhang. They sat and drank water in silence. The long walk had tired them, but they didn't complain. Suddenly, Lyra pulled something small from inside her robe, a round metal coin with a glowing center. "What's that?" Dale asked. "A piece of my crest," she said. "It proves who I am. If I ever need to claim my name again, this will be enough." Dale looked at the coin, then at her. "Do you plan to go back someday?" Lyra didn't answer right away. Her eyes stared out into the desert. "I don't know," she said at last. "Right now all I want is to live freely, even if it's far from everything." "I knew," Dale nodded. "That's fair. I think I understand better than most." She looked at him. "And you, what will you do after this? After we reach the trade post?" "I haven't thought that far," he said. "Maybe disappear, like you, start over somewhere small. Somewhere no one knows my name." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then maybe we disappear together." Before Dale could respond, a loud hum echoed through the air. They both turned toward the sky. Another ship was approaching, fast and low. Its shape was sleek, not scavenger, not human either. "Do you recognize it?" Dale asked. Lyra narrowed her eyes. "Yes, that ship is from House Thalen. They serve my cousin. She must have sent a team." "Friendly?" Dale asked. Lyra's face turned cold. "No, they will take me by force. She wants to claim power through me if I'm brought back by her." "It's the same as a cage." The ship was landing quickly, dust rising around it. Dale stood and pulled Lyra back into the rocks. "We can't run. They'll see us." She looked around quickly, then pointed to a pile of thick sand behind the ridge. "There, cover me, bury me again, like the sand bath." Dale hesitated. "What about you? You'll be trapped." "I'll hold my breath for long enough," she said. "It's better than being caught." Dale moved fast. He dug a shallow pit and helped Lyra lie down. Then he covered her with warm sand, gently packing it around her arms and legs, leaving only her face barely visible. "Keep your eyes closed," he said softly. She gave a tiny nod. The ship landed nearby, and a group of armored soldiers stepped out. They scanned the area, weapons in hand. Dale grabbed his water pouch and walked out casually, acting like a simple traveler. One of the soldiers saw him and pointed. "You humans, stop." Dale raised his hands. "Easy, I'm just passing through." Heading to the outpost, the soldier walked up and stared at him. "You alone?" "Yes," Dale said calmly. "Just me and the sand." The soldier looked past him but saw nothing suspicious. "We're looking for someone, a woman, alien, high rank." "Seen anything unusual?" Dale shrugged. "Only dunes and dust." The soldier scanned him, then turned away. "If you see anything, send a signal. Don't hide her, it would be a mistake." Dale nodded slowly. "Understood." The group searched for a few more minutes, then returned to the ship. Lyra stayed buried. Dale didn't move. Finally, the ship lifted and flew away, disappearing into the clouds. Dale rushed back to the sand and began uncovering her. Lyra gasped as the air hit her face. "You okay?" he asked quickly. "Yes," she coughed. "Just give me a second." He helped her sit up and brush the sand off. "You were brave," she said. "You were braver," he replied. "I just lied to armed aliens. You buried yourself alive." She smiled weakly. "Seems like a fair match." They sat there side by side again, watching the sky. "We can't keep running like this," Dale said. "We need a real escape away off this planet." Lyra looked at her coin crest again. "There's one way I haven't used yet. My brother, if I contact him now, maybe he'll help without turning me in." "You sure?" Dale asked. "No," she said. "But I trust him more than anyone else." She looked at Dale. "If I send the signal and he comes, you'll be in danger too." Dale didn't blink. "I already am, might as well see it through." Lyra smiled. She pressed the center of the coin and spoke 3 words into the wind. Then they waited. Escape and ending. Signal was sent, but the desert gave no answer. The coin in Lyra's hand had gone dim again, and the silence around them felt heavier than before. They sat together under the ridge, watching the sky, waiting for something, anything. Dale broke the quiet first. "How long do we wait?" Lyra looked up at the clouds. "He will come if he can. If he doesn't, then we walk again." Dale nodded. He respected her calmness, her strength, but he also saw the tiredness in her eyes. They had been running for 2 long hours. Past the sun climbed higher, burning across the dunes. They shared water, carefully taking slow sips, saving every drop. Dale tried to rest, but sleep would not come. He kept looking at the sky, then at Lyra, then back at the sky again. Then a sound came, low, steady, distant, but growing louder. Dale stood quickly and scanned the horizon. A ship was approaching. Not like the others. It was smooth, silver, shaped like a wide wing, and it flew with no lights, no scan beams, just speed. Lyra stood beside him, her hands shaking just slightly. "That's his ship," she said. "You're sure?" Dale asked. "Yes, I remember the sound. He used to take me flying in that ship when we were children." The ship slowed and hovered above them for a moment, then landed softly on the sand nearby. A side door opened, and a figure stepped out. He was tall like Lyra, with sharp features and the same violet gold eyes. He wore light armor and carried no weapons. Lyra stepped forward. "Brother," the man smiled. "Lyra, I thought you were lost." She ran into his arms, and for a moment she didn't look like a runaway princess or a desert Survivor, she looked like someone who finally found home. Dale stood back quietly watching. The man looked at him over Lyra's shoulder. And who is this? She pulled back and turned toward Dale. This is Dale. He saved me more than once. He's the reason I'm standing here now. Dale raised a hand. Just a guy looking for quiet. That didn't work out so well. The man stepped forward and offered a handshake. Then I owe you my thanks. I am Relin, Prince of House Talon, and her brother. I give you my word no harm will come to you. Dale shook his hand. Thanks, I'll take your word for it. They entered the ship together. It was cool inside with soft lights and smooth seats. Lyra sank into one with a deep breath as if her bones could finally reach. Relin sat across from her. Father is furious. You must know that he believes you were taken, not that you left. I left on purpose, she said, and I will not return to that life. He nodded slowly. I know that's why. I came alone. I had to see for myself. He looked at Dale. And what about you, human? What is it you want? Dale thought for a second, then said, nothing grand, just somewhere I can breathe, somewhere I'm not a leader or a number, just a man. Relin tilted his head. I can offer you a new name, a place to stay somewhere. Far from politics and war, you'll have peace. Dale looked at Lyra. She gave a soft nod. You deserve that much. He smiled. All right, I'll take it. The ship rose from the sand and flew west, heading toward the mountains far beyond where humans had settled. It was territory not marked on any human map. A place untouched from the window. Dale watched the dunes roll away beneath them like waves in a golden ocean. Place where it all started now fading into memory. Lyra sat beside him, her hand resting lightly on her lap. Her voice was soft but sure. Do you regret helping me? Dale shook his head. Not for a second. I came here to disappear. Instead I found something better. She looked at him. And what's that? A reason to stay awake. A reason to care again, he said. She smiled and looked out the window. I like that. The ship landed hours later in a green valley surrounded by hills and tall glowing trees. There was a small outpost there hidden, built into the rocks, silent and peaceful. Relin guided them to a small house built from smooth stone and glass. It looked strong and quiet. This place is yours, he said to both of them. No one will find you here, and if anyone comes asking, they will find nothing but wind. Dale looked at the sky. The stars were just beginning to show. A new sky, a new chapter. Inside the house there was food, warmth, and silence, the kind Dale had searched for in the sand but never truly found until now. That night, he sat outside under the open sky. Lyra sat beside him. Both of them quiet. He finally spoke. Funny how I came to the desert to be alone, and now I can't imagine walking it without you. Lyra nodded. I came to run from my name, but now I've found someone who sees me without it. They sat in the dark for a long time, saying nothing more, because nothing more needed to be said. In the end, it wasn't just about escape or survival. It was about choosing a new path together, a human who wanted silence and a princess who wanted freedom. And in the quiet night of a distant planet, they both found exactly what they were looking for. The end.